So, this is for the young adults in the audience, and for the parents, I'm now going to give my explicit content warning. Yeah, this is a new thing that I have to do when I do comedy at all ages mic, so here it goes. If you're sensitive or you're really young or you want to keep your kids innocent and I'm going to give you a moment to leave. If I don't see you stepping up, then I'm going to start into my routine, but I will give you a couple seconds to discuss it.
I appreciate that.
All right, cool. All right, does anyone want to leave? All right, we'll go into my jokes. Parents, if you get offended, you can just grab your kids and throw them out of the room. I don't know how that should work. All right. I'll just go right into some good stuff. My father called me the other day, and he was like, you know, I've been a Republican my whole life. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, what do you think about the presidential candidates? And I was like, well, Dad, there's one I'm not going to vote for. And his name starts with a T. And my dad was like, yeah, I'm thinking about changing parties. I'm thinking about not becoming a Republican anymore. And I was like, Dad, what party are you going to become? And he's like, whatever one will pay for my prescription drugs. I was like, wow. So me and my dad had like a moment of understanding. And it took years. But I was kind of cool. For those of you who don't know me, I work as a sample girl. And some suspicions about my coworker came true the other day. I won't go into details because we do have young children in the audience. I'll tell you later. But a lady did come up to me and she was like, oh my gosh, you just look awful. And I'm like, awful? Like, how awful? And she's like, you look awfully cold. And I was like, no, I'm not cold at all. And then she's like, why are your lips blue? And I was like, oh, that's the new Maybelline lipstick I'm selling. I was like, and then she's like, well, what number is that? And then I told her, and she went and bought it. It's kind of strange. Because I couldn't sell it any other way, I guess. Now I think I'm going to talk about food. Have any of you guys tried those new energy drinks? The ones that taste like cotton candy? I was like, oh, this is great. And no sugar either, because I'm trying to cut back on the sugar because of the belly. And I was like, oh, wow, I can have cotton candy in the middle of spring. It was good, right? And then I got another thing about like these things with like little waffles and then little chicken drumsticks. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Has anybody tried it yet? It's like the cereal that's chicken and waffles. And then I got it, and it's also really good with milk. I don't know what the joke is, but I went out and bought like 20 more boxes because I think it's like my new favorite food ever. And that does have sugar in it, but I guess some things are worth the belly. There was one other food I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, so I was sampling chocolate for like this major chocolate company, and I was just handing it out. But for whatever reason, they thought that would be funny if I could draw these like little baseballs on the chocolate with frosting. And then I was able to figure that out after a couple hundred. I was like, this kind of resembles not a baseball, basketball, baseball. I don't even know the difference. I'm not really a sports person. Maybe they were more like baseballs, but it was supposed to be basketball. But anyway, and then I sampled a bunch of that, and then I was like, oh my gosh. And then I got all these crazy questions that I didn't know how to answer, and it wasn't written in my handout. And one of the guys came up to me, and he's like, hey, Bridget, what are your picks for March Madness? And I was like, and then he's like, what do you think of the NCAA? And I was like, oh yeah, the women's team. I'm glad they can play sports. It's a joke, I don't know. And I had no clue that was a men's team. I also had no clue that women still make 79 cents on the dollar. But I did know that my coworker, Tommy, makes like $4 or $5 more than me. And I think it's because he's a man. But they say, when I ask my boss about the differentiation, they say, oh, because he's a man. And I said, can I have the same thing as the man? And he's like, no. He's like, because you're a girl. And I was like, oh, man. For the kids in the audience, don't worry. For the kids that I see that are girls, it's going to even out by the year 2070. So equality. So that's great. That's all I got.